Hi, and welcome to the Blending Mode class at Hummy's World. This lesson is well into the class, and if you're just now finding us, I would recommend you coming to hummysworld.com and finding the first lesson and going through them in order. If you are still with us going in order and you've reached it this far, welcome. We're so glad to have you joining us. Here is my image for this lesson, and we are learning a technique with the gradient tool for this lesson. And I actually really like this technique. This is a lot of fun. This is a picture of a tree I took while laying on the ground at the park here locally, and I love laying on the ground and looking up at trees. There's just something about it, and I can never quite capture it in an image quite as good as I feel in real life. So let's deconstruct and then kind of reconstruct this particular image. So I have here my tree image. This is straight out of the camera, didn't do anything to it. Of course, I could play with it with the gradient or not with the gradient, with the levels and the saturation and whatnot, but these lessons I could sharpen it, but these lessons aren't focusing on that. So here's my gradient layer I made, and here's the before and after, and let me show you how I made that with the gradient tool. So create a new layer, make sure that your foreground color is white, and then activate your gradient tool. The next step is to choose the foreground to transparent color. Of course, this is only working if your foreground color is white, or if that's too intense, you might want a little bit of an off-white, but for this effect, it needs to be a white foreground color. And then choose the radial gradient icon. And now we are ready to go. What happens is this creates, for my image, I used it to create bits of light coming out through the tree to make it sparkle more and pop more. But this is often used to create like a haze, and so this would be great if you had an image, landscape image, where you had a foreground and then in the background you had mountains or something that was far away. You might have a road and a house in the foreground, and then maybe some sort of mountains or something in the background, and you could create a little haze along the bottom of that mountain to really make it more realistic. That's a great thing for this technique. Maybe you have a field of flowers. I really wish I could find a field of flowers. They're not so easy to come by, not ones you can tromps in. Yeah. Oh, goodness. Yawn. Excuse me there. So, how many of these videos have I yawned in? Can you tell I'm recording late at night a lot? Anyway, don't tease my bloopers. But, okay, you could tease me if you want. Here's what I did with this on my new layer. I simply made, the key is to make tiny little, you see what that did? A little speck of light there. And for my purposes, I'm just enhancing where the light's already coming through. I wasn't making anything unrealistic that wasn't already there. Like if I put one right out here in the middle of this, that would be kind of silly. So if you just put your mouse down and drag for little bitty spots wherever you want these little bitty rays of light. And this fun. And you can make them littler and a little bit bigger, however you want to do it. Um, uh, if you're covering up something and making a haze, though, you do want to do, let's say right here is where you're creating a haze. You do want to do a whole bunch of little ones together. I'm going to hit undo because that doesn't work for me. Well, it won't matter. You can see it on this image. So you would want to do a whole bunch of them right together, creating a haze kind of uh, in the background of your image. And then when you're done, or even before you're done, go ahead and change it to the lighten blending mode and lower the opacity. And see, you can see the little haze coming in here where I made those with how that and imagine what that would look like on the edge of a mountain. But for me, I made a little bit bigger ones where my light is coming through on the trees. And I made different sizes of them. So that's what I did. And I'm going to go ahead and delete this one that I just made and go ahead and activate the original one. Here's my text then I created. And now I have this texture here that I'm giving you. And this is what it looks like. So you can play with it, or you can play with any of the other textures previously in the class. This one's really grungy. We kind of, I'm not sure what we'd put on this, whether it's tea leaves or might be pepper. So we've got a lot of grungy stuff going on in it, and then we crinkled it up, so it's really, really crinkly, and then we uncrinkled it, so it's got a lot of good, yummy texture stuff going on, and it's pretty universal around the whole texture. So this is the download image for today, and I changed it to the soften blending mode, and let's look at the before and the after, and I thought that was perfect. It kind of made the lights kind of twinkle even more. If you zoom in to let's look at this like haze right here, or this bright light coming in right here, and before and after. So it kind of put some streaks in the haze, and then in other parts of the tree it just kind of gave it some yummy texture. And I thought, well, that's good, I could leave it, but I was trying to think of something else to do, so I duplicated it, went through blending modes, couldn't find anything that worked. So I actually ended up duplicating it, and it's with the overlay blending mode again. And but this time, I used the radial gradient to kind of make it so it only applied on the outer edges and not on the inside, because I thought it was too intense all over to duplicate this texture again. I rotated the texture too. But see, there's before and after, and you can see it kind of worked well. It kind of brightens it up around the outer edges. And so that's what I did with the texture and the gradient tool. And I would love to see what you do with it. Let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this. I want to show you something else. One more thing. And I'm going to make my gradient just so I have something to play on. So here is this texture. Let me show you a tip with the radial gradient, is that wherever you first click down, that's going to be the center of your circle. So you are only clicking and dragging for half of the circumference of your circle. And so let's say I want it to be right here. And so you see how it made half of the circle. If I wanted the circle to be for this whole image, like I did for mine, I'm going to click down right in the center and drag out somewhere, it doesn't matter where, anywhere out toward the outer edge. And that's how I got it to be from the center. I know it can be confusing sometimes. You're dragging and you say, why I was trying to get it in the middle. Why did it do that, which that isn't too bad. That's kind of cool. But wherever you want the center to be, that's where you're going to drag from. So that's a little extra tip from me. And there's my final image. I was going to add a border because you see me adding borders all the time, but I really thought that would take away from the whole volume effect and the message that I was trying to get across, that I'm laying on the ground, daydreaming, wishing my life was a different story, and forgetting to reflect on what I had and enjoying the one that I have. And so I kind of thought that would take away from the expanse of it if I put a border on this particular image. So, see, we don't always have to have borders. It just depends on what we're going for. So I look forward to seeing what you do with the gradient tool and this texture or any other textures in the class. This is one where you have freedom to use any of the textures, and go ahead and get a screenshot of your layers palette and give us your recipe on what you did to go from the beginning image to the wow ending image.